Suspense is all about withholding the outcome of your story, because that's how we keep people reading. Suspense is one of the tools in your tool belt for keeping people reading throughout your emails. So you should have received the email that's on my screen as part of this course. I'm going to just read through it and have a think as I read through it about where suspense is working here. So one September night in 2007, I was walking home about 11 p.m. The fastest route home past a derelict university building under renovation. As I walked, two boys appeared at the top of the road. Both had hoods up. One was whistling. "Excuse me, pal. Excuse me." I stopped and turned around. "Do you know where Broom Hill is?" They continued to walk up to me. As they got closer, I could see that one was smoking a spliff. Both were about my height, perhaps taller. They positioned themselves either side of me. "Yeah, back up the road, left and right at the top," I replied. The taller one straightened up for a moment. "Just hand your phone over," he says. For a second we stood there watching each other. In those brief moments, rational thought evaporates with a jolt of fear. I turned and sprinted back up the road. 30 metres, 20 metres. I could hear the thump, thump, thump of pounding footsteps behind me. I reached a junction with no space to turn and ran blindly into the road. Is there any way that you could tell that story and have the reader not want to know the outcome? So this is how you keep people reading. So suspense can work on an overall level with your story. So the overall story level here is that I want to know the outcome to this story. But actually, when you look at the story a little bit closer, there is suspense happening on a sentence level as well. So saying things like, "They continued to walk up to me," that creates suspense because you know that nothing good is going to come of that. And you have to read the next sentence to find out what happens next. "They positioned themselves either side of me." Again, that makes you want to read the next sentence. And actually, when you think about it, the goal of each sentence you write in your nurture emails, the goal of each sentence is to get the reader to read the next sentence. And the way you get the reader to read the next sentence is to make them wonder what happens in the next sentence. So if we map out this story on a timeline, because remember, the first thing that we do when we're looking to improve a nurture email is we'll map it out in a timeline. And the first thing that we notice here is we don't actually have many ups. So the story starts off and we have this C here. So the C is the context. So the context was that I was at university, walking home late at night. When you tell a story, you do have to have the context. And then after that, we've got some downs. So the hoods appear at the top of the road. They stand either side of me. They tell me to hand the phone over. And then there's suspense. So there's suspense as the outcome is delayed. So when you're planning your story on your timeline, you can actually plot in the points where you deliberately want to insert some suspense. And doing this will immediately make your nurture emails more effective because it will keep people reading. The one idea for me in this story was panic. So again, your one idea for the story might be different to my one idea. But if I had to distill the story down to a single word, for me, the story would be about panic. So that is the end of my story, is panic. So if I want to take this story and link it to contents, because remember that's what we're doing, we're using the open sandwich structure. So we're using story first and then content. So if I want to link this story to content, I might say something like this. So the story ends 30 metres, 20 metres. I could hear the thump, thump, thump of pounding footsteps behind me. I reached a junction with no space to turn. In my panic, I ran blindly on into the road. Have you ever panicked about the end of a promotion? I have. I was ordering a new motorcycle jacket, etc., etc. So that's how you link the story to the content, is that you identify the one idea, you end the story on the one idea, and you begin the content on the one idea. So that's very empowering because it means that the story that you tell doesn't necessarily have to be about panic. You just have to be able to end the story about panic. Which means that this opens up all sorts of possibilities, because now we can use all sorts of stories in our nurture emails that aren't directly about the thing you're writing about, But as long as you can end the story on your one idea and start your content on the one idea, it doesn't matter too much. The final thing to say on Suspense is that you do at some point want to close the loop. Don't delay the outcome of the story forever. So in my email, I eventually included a PS to say I ran out in front of a car. The car braked, blocking the path of my pursuers, and I escaped up a side road. One idea that you can try is you can try starting a story and delaying the outcome of the story until the following email in the series. So if you watch programs like Breaking Bad or Prison Break, I'm watching Prison Break on Netflix at the moment, and I wouldn't say it's exactly changing my life. But what is very interesting is that every episode that isn't a season ender ends on a cliffhanger, and you have to watch the next episode to see what happens. And you can do that with your nurture emails as well. You can tell a story, you can leave it on a cliffhanger, and reveal the outcome in the next email. I do that sometimes, but I'm a little bit wary of doing it as well, because you have to be very careful, because people are not going to read every email that you send. Some emails are going to get lost, some emails will end up in the spam folder, some emails will just get drowned in the inbox. So I think that every nurture email you send has to stand on its own two legs. But you can certainly experiment, at least with one or two emails, you can experiment with starting a story in one email and finishing it in the next email. You'll probably find that if you do that occasionally, you'll probably find that you get good levels of readership.